Welcome to the Lifeboat Live. We have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck.
Good evening, everybody. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. On the other side of the glass, as always, is my partner, Captain Mark Wages. And you're on the lifeboat. We go without a net. It's one of the basic tenets of what we do here on the lifeboat, right? When you do things live, you do things live. You're not editing out stuff. You're not saying, let's do another take on that, right? We didn't like that first one. Let's do another take. And you open yourself up to things when you do that, right? Like you can lose a thread. You've seen me do it. I'll be talking about bananas, and shortly thereafter, I'm talking about bicycles because I'll find a different thread and sort of chase that thread wherever it goes. That's one of the risks of doing that. One of the other risks is that we can do a really bad show, and we've done them, right? It happens, right? We've done some awful shows over the time that we've been on here, but I think lately we've been doing pretty good, and we're pretty happy about it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just pulling up the chat here, people. I got a different. I was just telling my partner I got a different laptop now,
Yeah,
which is
it does suck,
cool
guys.
and not.
It sucks trying to get another piece of equipment going. Before you go on, Tommy, just mention this. This is just something that I want to mention to people. If you notice, guys, Alan Ballantyne, and I'm not sure if anybody else is there yet, but they got a life ring. That means that they're on to their second month of being a member, channel member.
Oh, I got you.
So, and then I think the next step up is 6 months. So we've got different icons for that, guys. Different, emojis. Just so if you guys are wondering, I don't want you guys to be confused. So anyway, there you go.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, we go without a net, and sometimes it makes for magic because people will come on and they'll dial in, and the some of the calls that we've had literally have been magic, where people just open up in ways that you don't see anywhere else. It also invites in the possibility that things can go really, really wrong, right? Without using a name, the people that have been on boat a long time will remember someone that felt the need to let the lifeboat think that he had taken his own life, and this hoax was perpetrated for a couple of days, and there were a lot of people, praying for the guy's wife, and it's the nature of the beast that we open ourselves up to that kind of situation. It can happen, right? And we don't set up callers ahead of time. If we do, they're not a caller; they're an interview. So the callers call in, and we take what we get, and a lot of times we get really fantastic stuff. Now, that said, it's fascinating how far off the beaten path of what is normal drugs and alcohol will make you. And I mean, I have told you people a good 80% of the depravity of my life. And there's 20% that I just could not bear, sharing with the world, because it's just phenomenal how low and how out of control you can get, because you will find yourself at a point where alcohol's at the wheel, right? Or cocaine is at the wheel, or heroin's at the wheel. So, like the last individual who faked, a suicide, there, but for the grace of God, go every one of us, right? I'm not saying that you would do the same kind of thing, because everybody's doing something to fill a need, right? But they're going to lie. And those lies are for some reason. There's something psychological that is being met by those lies. Maybe that individual wanted to see what would happen if he was gone, or he wanted to know that people cared about him. There's a lot of different things that can cause that kind of stuff. And it's all speculation. But believe that there's something deep psychological to those kind of lies, right? And they don't often happen without the assistance of drugs or alcohol, right? Every time it has raised its head here on the boat, it has been somebody that has been completely wasted, who came here and lied to the boat. Now, we're not detectives, we're not cops, right? I certainly did not sign up for that, and I know that Mark did not sign up for that either. There are, let's be really honest, right? There are people that have been on the boat. There are people that are on the boat that you just kind of know might not be sober. And it's never something you're going to call someone on, because number one, the basis of what we do here is you got to believe them, right? Because everyone stops believing the addict. They need someone to believe in them. It really is one of the most important things in the world. So even if you get kicked in the teeth, right? When you get back up, you're going to look at the person and say, "Welcome back to the boat," right? Please, let's try to work on you, bud. Let's see what we can do to help you, make some changes, because obviously some changes need to be made. And that was the approach we took the last time. We came on and we said, you know what? I know a lot of you are angry at this cat, but he needs the boat now a whole lot more than he did when you thought everything was good, right? Once again, we talk about this all the time, but it's like on a cancer ward saying, you need to get out of here. You got a tumor, right? These things are symptoms of a problem that we're here to talk about and to treat and to, to work on helping each other to get through, right? To gain a little bit of peace and some tranquility in our life, some balance. We don't want to live the life that we have been living, right? So again, there, but for the grace of God, would I come on and fake my passing? No, I don't think that any amount of my previous drug of choice would do that. But it could put me in a bank, right? Telling the teller to stick all of the cash up on the counter, right? Top drawer, bottom drawer, do it. That's not normal either, right? So everybody's not normal is different. But I think we got to be really careful judging somebody's not normal. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you say, well, yeah, he robbed banks, but at least he wasn't, doing anything to this person or that person. That's just a symptom of the drugs that I was on. And one person's symptoms are no less, reprehensible than somebody else's, right? For real. No, we all know that there are crimes that are unforgivable, in my opinion. But I don't think those are brought on by booze or drugs. I don't think that turns you into that. I think that those people are born that way. And I think you know what I'm talking about. So where am I going with this? Last night on the show, when we went to live calls, we had a call, and it was a good call. It really was. And it was from a person that has spent a lot of time on the boat. And I don't mean, in the chat. I mean, from this side, this is an individual who co-hosted a few shows. We've done out of 2 or 3 interviews with him, and every single time he calls, it's just explosive. He's articulate to a degree that the average person just isn't. A phenomenal communicator and a guy I care a great deal about. Truthfully, we had our issues in the very beginning, but while I was on that vacation in Florida, you guys remember me filming from down there. There was a moment where we Skyped back and forth to each other, and while we were doing that, I think that there was a bond created that was it was real. He was in a pretty bad place, and we spent a lot of time on the looking at one another until it was over, right? Until he felt better. And we forged a bond there that has hung on since. I always look forward to hearing his take on whatever I'm talking about. And there's a lot of times he doesn't agree with me, but the way he defends why he doesn't agree with me has always been articulate, and it's always been excellent. Last night, if you missed yesterday's show, we were talking about knowing what's important, and the topic got on to what happens when sobriety, the clear-headedness of sobriety, right? You get this clarity, and it's a term you hear often, the clarity of sobriety. And this individual called in and talked about how the thing that really jumped out at him was the reality that it's not going to be long before he loses people that he really loves, right? Because people get up in age, and his mom and his dad are in their 80s, and they're getting closer. And it was something that he didn't think about at all when he was in the life. And he talked about making sure that he always got a hold of them. And I don't remember whether he said he had spoken to his father that day or it was the day before. And he said, both of my parents are alive. The problem with this is that we did a show about a month ago where he called in, and for about 25 minutes, we discussed the passing of his father. Now, I want to promise you something. We looked for any way that this could be a hitch, that this could be a screw up. We looked for any way that, oh, you know what? I mean, while this was going on, when he said it, My bobbleheaded partner was already texting me. If you watch the video from last night, you're going to see me doing this number. And it's because a bunch of you texted me, right? I had emails going off. I had all of these people saying, wait a second. You know, I thought his dad was already gone. Like we watched that show. What's going on? My bobbleheaded partner, being the guy that he is, said, man, it's got to be a stepfather, right? It's got to be a stepfather. So, and you know, that would absolutely make sense. And trust and believe, before we would come on here and do a show like this, you got to make sure that that's not the case. His stepfather, and I don't want to get into every single detail of these calls. It's really not what this is about. But his stepfather and his real father would have to have been divorced from his mother for the exact same amount of time. Would have been a very difficult thing to do, right? But he talked about how his mother was devastated at the passing of his dad, and he talked about how it was a profound event in his life. And then he talked about the funeral, and he talked about everything that happened, and it was a beautiful story. It really was. The problem is both of those stories can't be true. You follow me? One of these stories isn't right. They can both be right. You can't have lost your father a month ago and talked to him 2 days ago. So during one of those calls, for reasons that we probably are never going to know, he just was telling us a story. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, I'm shocked. I think the vast majority of you know who I'm talking about. It was on last night's show. The reason we're doing this, because trust and believe, we gave a lot of thought to just letting this pass. We gave a lot of thought to just letting it go, right? Well, why do you need to? Obviously, I would bet almost any amount of money that he's watching me right now. And why would you put somebody, on blast, or put somebody through, the kind of embarrassment that this brings? And I would have loved to have not done this show more than anything. I'm not kidding you, more than anything. I would have loved to have not done this show. However, some of the people who reached out to us brought up some points that were frightening. Like, maybe we arrange the calls beforehand, and maybe we say, you know what, call in tonight, and whatever you're doing, just give us about a half an hour or something like that. It's absolutely devastating that we have to do this. And I feel for him right now more than you can possibly imagine. I reached out last night to Niall. I sent the previous video to him, and I said, please go in 35 minutes and watch from that point forward. And can you please explain to me how these two things are possible, right? Because a bunch of people, about a dozen at that point, had already reached out to me to say, hey, man, something ain't right. And where it really gets awful, I'm sure you can think of one or two people off of the top of your head who in the very recent past have lost their father, right? The death of my dad is still raw in my life. And for that reason, we're literally praying for the family. Now, the fact that could just be a complete, an utter fabrication that is made up wholesale for whatever reason. Both stories can't be true. And it is probably more likely that you don't make up somebody is out from the grave. It's probably the other way around. When I sent over the video and I asked him to explain it, I was instantly blocked. Within 2 minutes, one of the most articulate men I have ever met, a man who has never at a loss for words, simply blocked me. It really, and I reached out then via email, and I said, the reputation of the show is at stake. Now, if it's, hi, this is John Smith first time caller, just came to the boat today, right? Not much you can do. But this person is a large part of the history of this channel, right? I mean, he spent a lot of time. And you sit there, unfortunately, and it's a great lesson going forward in life. I've learned from this guy. Straight up. I quote things that he has said regularly. I hearken back to things that comments that he's made, because he's very intelligent and he's very spot on. But when something like this happens, you start running through every single thing that you ever talked about and wondering how much of it is real and how much of it isn't. The last thing that I said to him was, I don't have a choice of going on and explaining this to the channel, because too many people have reached out and asked about it. To not address this makes us complicit, and that can't happen. So I'm going to give you a shot. You can come on and tell the story, or we're going to. And I made it perfectly clear. I never said, how could you do this, you lousy, whatever. None of that. None of that. Because I'll be really honest with you. This is, in many ways, like me walking into a bank. I do not believe for a second that this took place without his drug of choice. There's no way you could convince me of that. I don't think this man's soul is built that way. I don't think that it's something that he would have done sober. In fact, I'd bet money that it's just not something he would have done sober. And I absolutely reached out and gave him every opportunity to come here and explain this. And for my efforts, I was blocked. So if you're watching, Niall, you know what? You can come back here to the Lifeboat. We don't kick people off of the Lifeboat because of things that they do when they're on their drug of choice. We don't, right? The reason we are here is absolutely to ensure that the kind of thing that just took place doesn't take place, that people don't reach levels of addiction that make them do things that are inexplicable, right? You sit and scratch your head and go, why? Right? Well, you can't reason with that kind of addiction. Last night, somebody said, recovery isn't, it isn't easy and it isn't pretty. There's a comment that was left yesterday. I'll tell you something. Recovery isn't easy, but it's freaking beautiful. It really is. There are very few things on this planet, in my opinion, more beautiful than recovery. So when someone that you think is spot on and has been for a long time gives you reason to believe that not only are they not sober, but they've been playing with you for whatever ends and for whatever reasons, it's devastating. I spent a lot of time on the phone last night with my bobbleheaded partner. I'm not going to pull out the names of people who reached out to us because I don't think anybody wants that. I will put my brother on blast because he's my brother. And his thing was, it just, the video when he talked about his dad made me relive hours for the entire time, right? That really brought Papa Scoville's death to us again for 25 minutes. And there's a lot of people who are crew members of this boat who recently lost, parents. So that's, as Forrest Gump would say, that's about all I got to say about that. Yeah. The end of this would just be that I really would love this individual to come back. And as crew members on this boat, there are going to be a lot of times that taking someone back is going to feel really difficult. But if we don't, then we're just like those people who I throw the air quotes up, right? The people that don't get it, the people that you can't explain. If you tried to explain this kind of behavior to anybody that wasn't an addict, it would be far more baffling, right? I don't think I'm capable of doing what he did last night, but I'm capable of doing some things that I know most of you are not capable of doing. Drugs and alcohol will bring you to a place where you are at your worst, and it will bring out the defect in your personality instantly, right? So if that defect is that, there's a bit of larceny in you, you're going to end up in a bank. And if it's more of you need attention or you need something else, this is the kind of thing that can happen. I still love the guy. I still respect the guy. I would absolutely love to have a conversation with him. And if somebody falls down, I really believe that everybody on this boat would give a person a second chance. Now, there are going to be some people who are going to leave some ugly comments. That's called working through things. I'm sure that I haven't read any of them tonight because to be honest with you,
You're good.
I don't want to.
No, it's. I think everybody's understanding. I really do, and I think that you said it all really, really well. And just for clarification, so you guys know that Tommy is speaking for me here too. This is something that we don't take lightly. Never did from the beginning. And I think that it shocked me and Tommy right at the right when you can see it on Tommy's face when it just like the bell just hit him. And it's like, and I was, he probably seen me look down at my phone because I immediately picked it up and said, dude, is that what was just said? And so at that point, it took us even a minute to go back and even find the video to figure if we were right or not, as we were trying to ask Niall about it at the same time. Right. So just know that this is not something we hate this crap. This is not something that, and I think that me and Tommy kind of agree on this too. If it had been just whoever just swinging through our channel and moving on, we wouldn't even be talking about this, guys.
It wouldn't be, because it wouldn't work on our credibility. It wouldn't bring the, but he's almost a like an honorary host.
Yeah,
he spends a lot of time
here,
and it really does. It absolutely. It makes a huge difference.
And I get that some people are, I haven't really seen anything like extremely negative in the comment section, but I get how, things can be, it just hurts, I guess. It hurts when you care about people. And when things like that happen to us, and we've had it happen to us before, but like Tommy said earlier, it wasn't really from somebody that was that extremely close to us and basically had a relationship with everybody here. And that's why we're doing it here and not in the background. Because it affects all of us. And, frankly, it breaks my heart. I mean, I hope and I truly pray, because we are very, very forgiving here. We're not judging anybody. You come back, you say what you need to say, and we don't even talk about this again.
Correct. I'm so glad that you said that. Come back here, own it, say I'm really sorry, and we will just pretend that it didn't happen. As long as we're moving forward into that direction, forgiveness means we've given up the right to ever bring it up again. And let me tell you something, I'm never bringing it up again. Right? This is it. We talked at length about whether or not we were going to do this, and you know what the real deciding factor for me was? It was one email that somebody wrote that just said something about not trusting channels in general, because you usually find out that they're shills or that they're phonies. And it really kind of struck me, because of the amount of time this man has spent on the channel. The second thing was, I look at analytics, right? So last night I'm looking at analytics, and you all were looking for the video that he did. Those of you that didn't know immediately where to go, videos that have not got a view in I don't know how long got 20 last night or 25 last night, because you guys were going up and down, right? Trying to find, it was a great night for views. The Lifeboat, I'll tell you what, we had a lot of views, but they were not on last night's video. You all were looking, and it can't be ignored for that reason. And that literally is all I have to say about that. So, people, the subject matter, though, is kind of germane. The talk about forgiveness, because I think that it's something that comes up, and it is such a huge part of recovery, right? We very often, the addiction and the drugs are a symptom of something bigger. And a lot of times there is hurt in someone's past that is strong enough to drive them to drink or to drive them to drugs. right? And the really very often unresolved anger issues are one of the top reasons, right, that people end up addicted to drugs, because it takes away that pain, it takes away that anger, and it becomes your coping mechanism because you basically kept things inside as opposed to letting things out. And very often, the people that need forgiveness are no longer in your life, right? You wouldn't even know where to call this person up. You wouldn't even know where this person is. Very often, these people are no longer with us. And I have said this before on the channel, and it might sound silly as hell to you. It really might, but give it a try. Because when the first time anybody brought this up to me, I thought this might be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. But then I did it. And it's something that I have done so many times since. If there's somebody that you need to forgive, and make no mistake, people, forgiveness has nothing to do. It really has nothing to do with the individual that you're forgiving. It's about you, right? If you look up the Latin root of the word, it literally means to give away, right? The forgiveness is to give away. So you could, no matter how heinous, people say, well, this guy did something and there's no way I could forgive him for this. No, could you turn him over to, say, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, right? Where he spends the rest of his life. Could you give him over to whatever fate he's going to, but get that away from you. Write a letter, right, to this individual. You don't have to mail it. But what you're doing is you're getting that stuff that you never let out of your mind, out of your mind. And very often that letter will become a precursor to, at some point, being able to say to a group of people, you know what, there's somebody in my past that did me wrong that is the reason that I think I became an addict. You know what? We don't need to know what the reason of what the deed was, but, finding somebody that, you trust enough, someone in your life where you can actually just unload all of this, because until you give it away, right? Until that forgiveness happens, then that individual continues to destroy you on a daily basis. And that's one of the saddest things that you can possibly imagine. Write a letter, right? I've heard people say they burn them after they write them. There's something symbolic to that. I think that's great if that's the the direction. I've heard people say they buried them. I just ripped it up. It was but it was the act of, I put it into an envelope. Like I made the thing a letter, and it's honestly, it's something that really it really helped me in a lot of ways. But to get unresolved anger out of your system is so essential to trying to remain sober. Get sober, right? The impediments, the things that get in our path and keep us from getting to where we want to get to, need to be addressed. And sometimes it's hard to even look past the windshield, right? Because we put so much gunk and crap over the course of the years on the front, right, windscreen. We always say, don't look out the rearview mirror, but sometimes you're not seeing through it. All you're seeing is it, right? So you got to kind of remove that funk. And the only way that you do that is by getting it out of the emotional part of your brain, moving it into the logic part of your brain, and then getting it out of your brain, right? Journaling is awesome for this reason. I know you guys are sick of hearing me say that. I apologize, because I'm not going to stop. It's one of the most powerful things that you can do as a human. I absolutely wholeheartedly do not think there is anything that you can do that will get you farther in life than journaling.
I had stopped doing it, Tommy, till you. Yeah, I did. Until you was just saying, hey, we need to do this, You really never even addressed me on it. You were talking to the boat, and I was like, man, I better start doing this again.
And you can't tell me it doesn't help.
Oh my God, dude, it's night and day. It really is.
It is.
Yeah. To see it. It's.
I also recommend, and I didn't start this, but I recommend a morning dump, right? Right before you go to bed, morning, and then when you get up in the morning, because what happens to you when you get up in the morning? Your brain has not been asleep. Your body has, right? Your brain has been working through crap the entire time that you're out. That's why we see REM, right? Rapid eye movements, because inside your dome, you're actually working through things in very bizarre ways. That's why when you remember your dreams, they don't make any sense to you. They make sense to your subconscious, right? So you get up in the morning, grab a sheet of paper and just dump whatever is in your frontal lobe onto that piece of paper. It's going to make your day better. I guarantee it. And more importantly, when you read those things later, you're going to remember dreams like this, right? Because what's going to be hanging out on your frontal lobe has something to do with that dream you don't remember. Later on in the day when you read it, I promise you, when they look at dreams and try to get you to remember your dreams, they say, get up in the morning and write the first thing that comes to your head. Write it down on paper. Because when you read it later, it's going to bring back memories. And for those of us that have issues, we don't need to walk around with those all day, right? So do the dump in the morning. Unresolved issues, all bad. Forgiveness is huge. It is absolutely huge. And you know what? It's liberating. It really is. You feel like you get kicked in the teeth, right? Or you feel something that is so much pain that it's hard to put into words, right? If like I say, there's so much I'm just not good at. There really is. I'm just another addict trying to stay sober. And there's a lot of this that I'm really bad at. I'm not bad at this. And the really funny thing is I used to be horrendous at it. I honestly, all of the things that are going on with me forgiving people is something I learned from a crew member on the boat. Swear to you. It's something that somebody said. I did a show on the fact that I had a couple of people that I just could not forget. And this person made a comment that, yeah. Anyway, I've gotten good at this. I swear to you on all that's holy, I have forgiven the people that have hurt me recently, every last one of them. And it's giving it away. It really is. It's giving it away. It's getting that out of my life. I don't need it anymore. Forgiveness is usually somebody that, Tommy Bird, I love that. He said he wrote his mom a letter. A lot of times that works too for apologies. It doesn't have to be somebody that wronged you. Very often, the other side of forgiveness is we get sober and we think about all of the people that we did dirty. We think about all of the people whose emotions we absolutely trampled on. And it is horrific. It is one of the reasons that more individuals relapse than any other. That is my absolute stone cold opinion. After talking to so many people who have relapsed, guilt is one of the biggest things that drives people, right? Because your emotions have been on hold, right? They haven't been at work full time. They've been in a stasis, just sitting there and waiting. And now when you come out and they first come up back online, right? Like the computer screen goes, boom, I promise you the first program is going to be guilt. Because the clarity of sobriety, which is what we were talking about yesterday, will most assuredly make you go, oh my God, all of the people, I lied to this person, I did that to that person. And it really starts to bring you through it. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Okay.
As you're saying that, I'm obviously I'm watching and listening and everything, but when you were talking about the journaling there just a few minutes ago, I mean, I could really almost like you were getting emotional. And I could see that, so just that fact that manifests in that way should tell you guys that is a really powerful thing. You know what I mean? I don't think you meant to do that. I think it just kind of, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to point that out in case anybody missed it. I see it because I watch you all the time, but.
Right.
Yeah.
When I say on the other side of the glass, we are literally looking, most of the time you have to forgive. Most of the time you have to forgive is yourself. The person you need to forgive yourself is the most is yourself, Buddha says. Yeah. And you know what? There's a lot of truth to that.
Yep.
There's a lot of truth to that. It's the guilt for what you've done to people. Forgiving yourself is a very difficult thing to do. And if you go through one of the 12-step programs, right, there is that making amends, right? Whenever possible, you reach out, providing it's not going to hurt somebody, right? You reach out to somebody and you say, hey, I'm really sorry for the things that I did. I believe that if on your heart you feel horrendous about something that you did, then making amends is a good thing. I think there are times absolutely where you should not do it. I guarantee you, I've talked about this before. There are so many times that the best of intentions have led to really horrendous, bad things happening. An example that I've given because I know it's an absolute fact is it happened to a friend. One of his best friends got wildly intoxicated and put a very serious, aggressive move on his wife. Sort of tried to, come on to his wife, and he just sort of batted away his advances. And in her head, he was just drunk, and there was no reason to tell her husband this. It would have hurt him, and blah blah blah. Well, when the guy got sober, he felt the need to go tell his best friend, I'm really sorry about the time that, I was grabbing your wife and I was doing this and that. And he went, huh? The fact that his wife hadn't told him literally destroyed that marriage. She didn't cheat on him. There was nothing like that, but it destroyed that marriage. Trust started to erode, and it wasn't long before it literally destroyed it. There are times where, the best way to do it is to write a letter to the person, right? If you don't think that, you can safely go and ask this person for forgiveness, write the letter and ask for forgiveness, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You forgive what you've done to yourself. I like Cemetery's comment. It's interesting. Yeah, it really is. It's interesting.
I can forgive you for what you've done to me, but I can't forgive you for what you've done to yourself. Yep.
Yeah, that's a real thing. This is another way that we just devastate people with our actions. And, there are family members who I guarantee you have a very difficult time with what I did to myself, right? Probably more than anything else. But all of these situations, if somebody is no longer with us, right? If the person passed away while you were incarcerated, or the person passed away while you were still using, and now you get that moment of clarity, that absolute clarity of sobriety, and you feel that overwhelming guilt, you need to get rid of it. If you don't, it is going to eat you alive. And I'm not, that's literally what's going to happen. From the inside out, it is going to destroy you. It's going to rip at your soul. And the way you are going to fix it is the way you know how to fix it, right? The purpose of anything that is remotely similar to the Lifeboat, right? Whether it's us or anybody else, anybody that is trying to do this, where you help somebody get sober, all you're really trying to do every single time is replace the coping skill of drugs with other ways to deal with things in life, right? That's it. That's the whole shooting match, right? In a sentence. For the majority of our life, when we could not cope with something that we did or something that somebody did to us, or the emotions just made us feel uncomfortable, right? So that you're sitting there feeling like you've got that feeling that only addicts really can articulate. Uncomfortable in your own skin. You go and you get high, and that feeling goes away. So what we're trying to teach everybody, what we're trying to teach ourselves every day by doing this, is that there are productive ways, right? Solid, productive ways, other than grabbing the straw or the needle or the bottle. You can absolutely work through the situations. And the biggest thing is acceptance, right? Own what you are, what you've done, the things that you did to harm people. Own it. You may not ever have an opportunity to talk to that person about it. Still no problem at all owning it. I promise you, I'm not really going to have a pretty solid chance at apologizing to my ex-wife. It's not going to happen. We're not on those kind of terms. But I own the fact that the vast majority of any blame that could be passed out in that falls directly on me. I promise you that my actions caused that marriage to go to hell. And you've heard me say, you've heard me talk about, the horror stories afterwards. She stole my identity, got a lot of money, stuff like that. But all of that was symptoms, right? I destroyed that marriage, and I absolutely destroyed my first one. And I can't tell you how liberating it was for me when I started to take responsibility for the things that I've done. Because I promise you, people, at the age of 45, I finally figured out what the hell was wrong with me, right? 46, I figured out what was wrong with me. And the reason that the reason that I was uncomfortable in my own skin. And I was never very good at owning up to anything that I did. I wasn't very good at dealing with the shortcomings of who I was. And, through a lot of help from a really intelligent guy, I started to realize that, owning my past, not wallowing, right? Not wallowing in it. Just, this is it. This is what I did. And then coming to grips with the fact that the most depraved and disgusting and absolutely bizarre things that we do are truthfully not our fault. The fact that we got addicted, right? We made bad decisions. But once the drug takes over, the things that you're doing, I mean, honestly, I have gotten very good at forgiving the human, right? There was a person who's no longer on the boat, but they said at one time, the analogy they used was, if you got a country with a dictator, right? And the dictator is just absolutely awful to everybody in the country. You don't hate the people in the country, right? And he very much viewed for himself alcohol as a dictator, right? And he was able to forgive the country, right? That was him, because the blame really fell squarely on, that substance. Did he use? Yeah, he used, right? But we're not, air quotes, normal, right? And for that reason, this stuff is different for us than it is for other people. That's another thing that was so hard for me to understand. The possibility that there was a guy out there that could do heroin and then not do it again was a concept that I literally could not wrap my brain around, right? It made so little sense to me that I thought wholeheartedly that every person that ever tried a painkiller of any kind got addicted to it. Yeah. I'm not being funny. Like, I honestly, it really took a while for me to understand that the disease of addiction is the reason that I can't do it once, right? Not a chance in hell. You know how the old commercials for Lay's potato chips? Okay, well, I promise you, I could absolutely never do one. I can't. I don't want to, have a tooth pulled. I'm so paranoid of the dictator that was at the helm of my life for so long, and I'm thankful that I can come in front of you people and I can say, you know what, I did both of my ex-wives dirty, but you can't watch a video of it, right? You're not going to see the person that I was, and that's beautiful, right? Not everybody gets that shot, right? Mark and I got here sober. A lot of the people who get to the boat aren't. So if you're forgiven Mark and I for our past, right, then I think you got to forgive a lot of people for their present. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. Thank you, Jim, for that super chat. Says, thank you for your insight, sincere wisdom. Hope you hear from your friend. Have a great evening. Lifeboat, keep learning from these two outstanding individuals. Well, thank you for that compliment, Jim. Appreciate you.
You know what? Jim is a great guy, a really great guy. And another guy, this is an individual I learned from too. I swear to you, once you start really opening up and you're not using all the time, it is astounding how many people you just realize that, wow, that person is sharp, right? Like you just end up really sort of glomming information and wisdom from everybody. We're parrots. I don't know that I've ever come up with too many original thoughts. I just spent a lot of time listening and reading, right? I don't know how many of these things are original. We just repackage them and send them back out.
I think we're I think we're good at that, to be honest with you.
I'd like to believe we are.
In order to talk about a subject, you gotta be able to listen to it too. And I think that that's something that we've been very successful at. We take correction, and I think that that's unique also. A lot of matter of fact, me and Tommy had this conversation yesterday a little bit about echo chambers and stuff like that.
Yep.
You're not going to get that here. This is not what that's about. This is not what this is about. And sometimes it's hard. It's extremely hard to do anything when we're talking to people that we care about, because we so much just want them to be okay, and we don't want anything to be there. But I think sometimes you got to look straight inside before you can look to the outside. Just turn yourself inside out and be able to go with it. And I think that we do rather well with that. And I think that, Tommy obviously has got the experience with the public speaking, and I think that that really, really helps here, because he's able to put it out there in a way that everybody can understand what he's saying. And he does very articulate, and just everything that he does there is just well put together. And it's amazing, because over on my show, I don't script. We don't script here. And it makes it so much more powerful, because things are said from a place of, well, I guess if we're talking about this subject, just from a place of honesty. It just comes out like that, Yep. And a little comic relief, because we might need that. I asked Seventh to throw us a joke in there, and Blue Dazzle says, hey, his battery is at 2%. And I'm sorry if you guys heard that. She's taking her dog in the other room. But anyway, I asked her to come up with one then. So here it is. Why did the chicken cross the playground? To get to the other slide.
Yeah, you definitely got that from your fiance.
Exactly.
He had a hand in that.
That's awesome.
Patrick says, I'll be 47 on January 14th, God willing. And I'm finally getting it that my best thinking got me right where I am now. What a foolish person I have been. You know something? The power in realizing that your thinking got you into the position that you're in, not somebody else, right? Not luck, jaws, karma, none of that. Bad decisions that we make, thinking that we're capable of, I can drink just on Fridays, right? I can have 2 beers. I can have 3 beers. Whatever the lie you told yourself was, I had a whole host of them, right? This is going to be the time, right? This time I will never go 4 days in a row, right? And this is something that, again, try to explain this outside of the lifeboat, or outside of this, kind of an environment, but knowing full well that on day 4, I was going to be addicted, I would do it anyway, right? It's beyond explanation, isn't it? Okay. Then we really have to forgive other beyond explanations, and something, if I've said anything recently that I'm proud of, it's if you can forgive Mark and I for our past, then you need to forgive other people for their present. I really like that. It's something that I feel like I got that out the way I wanted to. Yeah. There was one other comment that it was awakened by the looking glass, said, you know what, just, it's like holding your breath, because you don't have another one in you. And there is also incredible power in that. And you hear people talk about this in 12-step programs. You hear it all the time. It's a phrase that you hear. And I believe wholeheartedly that it's one of the most liberating feelings in sobriety, when you really come to that conclusion, right? You get some sobriety under your belt. You get 5 days, 6 days, whatever. And you start to get sober, and you start to get the chemical out, and you realize that it's never going to happen again. Right? This is the miracle. And from this point forward, you have to hold on to that like it is the most valuable thing of all time, because it is, right? And the reason that I at least once a week, one of you will send an email and say, why do you do this? Right? At least once a week, I get someone that wants to know, the reason that my bobble-headed partner and I will show up and do this thing. And You know, it's most assuredly not for the reasons that really jump out at people, but the reason that we do this is because we don't have another one in us, right? And what are the odds? What are the odds? I'm going to screw up and relapse with hundreds of people staring at me while I'm doing it, right? This is for me one of the greatest things possible for really making me feel like there's something so much bigger than me.
Yep.
I got sober in 2003, and I plan to keep it that way. Years ago, I had a terrible drinking problem. Chad, congratulations. That is awesome, man.
Yep.
That is awesome, and that's a long time too. I was told there'd be no math. Mark, help me out.
Let's see here. It'd be 20 years.
Wow, unbelievable.
That's almost 20, I guess. But yeah,
we're
that's huge.
That is huge. I love hearing that. I really do. I love hearing that. The two greatest things in sobriety, when somebody gives you a number that's huge, like you get one of those numbers like 20, and you go, "Wow, man, that person has literally held on to that like the most important thing in their life, and they made it." And the other one that's exciting as hell is, "I got one day." Right?
Yeah.
That one will make the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the actual beginning of something really, really beautiful.
Yep.
I'll send you a horrible second sober painting, Tommy. The rest you can find at Goodwill. I'll tell you something. The painting I'm going to show that to everybody on the boat. But it's not horrible, and it's absolutely inspired by the Lifeboat. You look at this and you will know instantly that this was inspired by the boat, and I thought it was beautiful.
There's a good comment right there. Addiction is straight up imprisonment of the mind, body, and spirit.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's true.
No, it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever wanted to sum up the characteristics of a drug addict or an alcohol addict or any addict at all, there you go.
Yeah. Amazingly, I mean, most of you know my story, and the person who helped me get sober is doing life, and he'd be the first to tell you. He'd say, I look around here and see so many people in prison, and if that's your reality, if that's where you're going to, that's it, right? This is where you live, so you make the best of it. And he when he looks around and sees people who have the potential to actually get out and do something with their life, and they're choosing to imprison themselves in a prison, it's again, there's no logic to it at all. There's no logic. It defies logic. It's the reason that we get together. It's the reason that we talk, because we're just not quite right. Yeah. Right. And the way that we can keep ourselves upright is by having a whole bunch of people that we lean on, a whole bunch of people we can call, and by journaling. I promise you, when you call somebody in your 5, you got to be able to say to them, "I think this is where I started getting off track." Because if you call me, I'm going to say, "What was your last 2 weeks like?"
Yep.
And you're going to go, "Well, what do you mean?" Like, go get the book. Yeah. Start reading 2 weeks ago and tell me exactly, because we can figure out what made you jump the track. Where did you go wrong? And you will have written it down. Whether you realize it or not, you will have written down the reason that you relapsed, or the reason that you started the process of relapse. The relapse doesn't necessarily mean smoking or shooting or anything else. Yeah. That means that's the last stage of relapse, right? That's actual physical. I done did it, right? But before that, you're going to start romanticizing. Your brain, the emotional part is going to start kicking in. That's when the 5 puts you right back on track, And I don't know how many times in the 7.5 years I went, right? I mean, I've gone in the wrong direction. I don't know how many times. I just have never made the mistake. I don't think I've gotten to stage 3, right? Much less. I really have learned from people far more intelligent than me, that when I start feeling even the tiniest bit squirrely, no offense, squirrel, then it's time to get on the phone, and it's time to reach out to somebody.
Yeah, 100%.
Brian Michaels.
Yeah, we've had
Brian, I got sober. It's good to see you, Brian. I got sober in prison. and I started the prison sentence I was still using as often as humanly possible. Of course, with my substance, that was daily.
Right.
And yeah, I about 2 years into the last prison sentence, I met a guy that helped me get sober, and a guy named Q, who's just an amazing human being, really, really a great guy. Had an opportunity to Q got an opportunity to hear a little of the Lifeboat, which I think is one of the coolest things ever. I really do. It's one of the coolest things ever. It was a Christmas gift. Alrighty, people.
Let me.
You know what?
Before you go on, real
Go
quick,
ahead.
just one more thing. Fee made a good comment there to Brian. Please take her suggestion there and go reward her hard work on redesigning or just organizing our main page. You know,
It's amazing.
you'll find a lot of information there, and we're not so naive to think, hey, you need to go watch all of our stuff. No, it's you can find it. It's a lot of the questions are answered almost sometimes even in the title. So just kind of look for that.
It's really funny. It's really funny when one of you sends me an email and you've been a subscriber for like 40 days, right? Because we can actually hover over your name,
Yeah.
and it will tell us how long you've been a subscriber. And I'll get an email that says, "Man, I love your channel. I've watched every single video." And you go, "Wow, you have done nothing else, right?
Yeah.
You literally have not left the computer since you subscribed to this channel."
Yeah.
People, yeah, I don't, I could probably name about 6 of you that actually have, though, because you people have just the you really built this ship. Yeah, with your own hands, you built this ship.
Yep.
True story. All righty, people. This is the week we got some member only video stuff coming out. I'm in the editing stage at this point, so they're coming, and I think you're probably going to get a few laughs out of these. They're really much more. Well, let's just say it's not like watching the Lifeboat. All right, you'll see it. It's nothing like watching the Lifeboat. Alrighty, people, we will be back tomorrow night. And you know what? This didn't suck as bad as I thought it would, and that's because of you people. You guys are great. Yeah, same squirrel time, same squirrel channel. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass,
Captain Mark Wages.
And look who's back at work. That's a cat in a basket. Good night, everybody. We love you. Oh.